Rob and Slim Show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Randy from Miserable Retail Slave.
That's right, guys.
How you doing? You're in Flint, Michigan, correct?
Just outside beautiful Flint, Michigan, USA. That's right.
How's the water?
Oh, still lead-filled and disgusting.
When
sir.
will they fix that? When are they going to fix that, bro?
Approximately never, apparently.
They just like, yeah,
it's not,
it happened and it's going to stay.
Yeah, the media kind of lost all track of it, and so it's no longer a story in the nation's eyes anyway.
It was like front line for like a while, and then, yeah, they're just like, yeah, no, it's happened.
Oh, for sure.
Wow, that's weird. It's weird to me. That's not a priority.
Yeah, it should be like top priority number one. But
yeah, one of them.
Yeah,
the guys are just intriguing me with a RoboCop story.
Yeah, on break, like randomly, I don't even know how it got brought up. Slambo was like, "Dude, I gotta buy that RoboCop movie," and I'm like, "What, the remake or the original?" And he's like, "No, the original. That movie was awesome."
I have the original on VHS. If you want to give me $300 for it, so. It's got to be rare, right? It's on VHS.
Oh man, I'll
Oh man,
dig up $300 off my floor.
Randy, how long have you been a miserable retail slave for?
Oh man, I've been a miserable retail slave for about 20 years. We've been doing the podcast about 7 years in May. So
I saw that you've been doing that for a while, and it started as a blog, right?
yeah, we stared when I
really
first
cool.
started it. I started it as a blog called Miserable Retail Slave, and we just talked about entertainment stuff. And eventually, we were getting a lot of hits on that blog, and I thought, oh, well, this will translate to podcasting because I fell in love with podcasting. I listened to these two indie pods out of Florida that are no longer around, and it was just each show was just people talking about their lives, and I'm like, this is crazy. They're not even like celebrities, but I'm so into what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could probably do that, maybe, you know?
Was it
So
hard?
the pod was born.
Was it different than you thought it was going to be? Was it like a struggle when you started the podcast?
Oh man, it's still a struggle. I feel like getting those ears. Like there's so many distractions around, and so many things that people can do with their spare time. And my marketing skills aren't the best. So the fact that we're not bigger than we are is just a testament to my spectacular branding and marketing skills.
It's a hard build, slow build, and yeah, like oversaturation. Like, but you've been around that long, so I didn't know. I didn't know if like that was an advantage of starting like earlier.
Well, when we started, there was a lot fewer indie pods, but at the same time, people didn't really know what a podcast was. So, pros and cons.
What were you gonna say, something?
So what I was going to say, Randy, what I was going to tell you is that I'm always looking for different podcasts to listen to, and I'm in retail, and I was like, let me just see if I can find a retail podcast, and I had on Podbean typed in retail, and your show is one of the shows that pops up, like one of the first shows. So
cool.
Anybody interested in retail will come across your show.
That's cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My payoff went through.
Have you ever gotten away from retail? Like I did work for a while out of retail, and it was cool. But then I just couldn't get another job again out of retail. Like you kind of like got stuck, kind of get stuck back in it.
Yeah, I am kind of part-time in retail now. I do, during the day, I actually work with kids, believe it or not. And at night, I still slum it in the retail paradise that gainfully employs me.
You dive back in. It's like a guilty pleasure. You can't get away.
What? I
I
can't
need
get
a little
enough.
retail in my life. What's the worst interaction you've ever had with somebody working in retail?
Oh, man. I used to work at a hardware store. And this was a hardware store right on the doorstep of one of the worst parts of Flint, Michigan. And for people that don't know, Flint, Michigan was like at the top, #1 for the longest time on the most violent cities in America.
Yeah, I thought it was a rough place.
Yeah, so we were getting some characters in there. Characters is a kind word. And so it was always an adventure. But one thing that, oh, man, this guy brought in a screw that he needed to find. And I put my hand out, and he put the screw in my hand, and then he drooled in my hand.
Oh,
and
I thought you say he stabbed you. I thought he stabbed you right through the hand. That's crazy.
I think drooling is where I think I'd rather be stabbed than drooled on.
Not
What about the combo? Like, what about a stab and drooling? Like,
Stab and drooling.
Just not
A
left
drooling
hook someone
stab.
for drooling in your hand like that.
stabs me in the chest and then infects me with his drool in the wound.
By a rusty screw, and then drool. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember in my 20s I worked in a pharmacy, and this old guy came in for a cream he needed, and then he left, and then he came back, and he was always obnoxious, and he came back and he started screaming, and he's like, "What is this cream for? Because I got to rub this on my testicles," and he's screaming this in front of like a store full of people, and it's because it said it was for like yeast infections, but I guess it could also be used for like something a guy had. So the pharmacist is trying to tell him this, and he's like deaf and screaming the whole time, "I got to rub this on my testicles," and I'm just dying. I fell over laughing. I was laughing so hard, like.
I went to the grocery store this morning, not even my own that I work at, and I'm always on the alert for material for the show, and like going to the grocery store in the morning is the worst thing you can possibly do because the olds are in full effect. The whole pack of old people just roaming around. And you look around, you see all these people barely functioning, shuffling around the store, and this one guy, he had this scrunched up face. It looked like, you know that face you make when somebody farts and it stinks?
Yeah.
He had that. And it seemed to be his factory default setting, like it was stuck on that. Like if he ever tried to smile, his face would break apart or something.
Resting fart face.
Yeah, resting fart face. That's a perfect description for it. So anyway, he's just standing there in the middle of the aisle, and he starts yelling, just yelling. Hey! He's just yelling, trying to get the attention of a store employee. And you can't just yell, hey, in a store with hundreds of people milling about, and the employees are boxed in on all sides by other people. We don't know who you're talking to when you yell, hey. So he's just standing there. Finally, an employee stops, and this man, for whatever reason, is looking for glue. And the helpful employee says, well, glue is down aisle 8. And he gets mad again. He's like, that's not the glue I'm looking for.
Ooh.
I'm like, why is this conversation happening then? Do you think they have some secret underground glue storage facility?
You got better glue, I know it.
Store.
You're holding out on me. You're holding out on me,
Yeah.
and there's better glue than this. Oh,
Why are you shopping for glue at a grocery store anyways, you asshole?
Right? God damn. At least go to a department store or something, like anything, like, god damn. I had two once. I worked at a store, and this isn't fascinating, but a guy asked if we had something. I'm like, whatever they have should be out of this stuff. And I guess he asked somebody else, and they ended up finding one in the back. And this guy was so mad that this other guy helped him, and I guess he thought I just blew him off because what I thought all that stuff had been out. He got in my face. He started screaming, and he proceeded to go up to the customer service area and then start chanting, "I hate Rob. I hate Rob," like 20 times. Like that part is cool. I just love because he looked at my name tag. He's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Rob. Why?" And he goes, "Cause someone else had to help." But he didn't answer right away. He started walking away. I said, "Why?" I said, "Why?" like twice. And he's like, "Cause someone else had to help me. Cause you wouldn't." And he was so.
I hate Rob. Yeah. So Randy, I don't know my experience. I've been in retail for about 12 years now. Most of that time was on overnights. For about 10 years, I was on overnights. But even being on like a normal schedule now, I still find that like the other people you work with are worse than customers. So like I find that in my opinion. I've had some shitty customers,
the longer
but
I'm at a job. Like at first I'm like kind of okay, and then the longer I'm there, I just hate people more.
Well, first of all, I commend you for working overnights because usually those are the cream of the crop that work.
Well,
not that you are, Slim, but I'm just saying.
They're
those
fine people. They're fine people.
Yeah.
I'm a better person now that I'm not on overnights. I've definitely like flip-flopped and turned into a different person. It's like you unmutate when you leave that shift.
Did you?
And the people that work overnight at my store, you would not want to be alone with them for any extended period.
They're
just odd people.
Yeah, they're the worst. They're unpresentable. Most of them are the unpresentables. Most of them.
Yeah.
Oh goddamn! Who's your co-host, Randy? What's his name?
My co-host is Tommy.
Tom. I thought it was Tom. How did you meet Tom?
We've been friends for about 18 years. Actually, the first time we hung out was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. A big group of us went to the movies and saw that.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, and Tommy was amongst them, and I recognized him immediately because he worked at a local grocery store, and he had this weird, like overly obnoxious spiky hair. I'm like, oh, that's the weird kid from the grocery store, you know. And for whatever reason, we hit it off. So when the podcast started, he was 2 years into starting stand-up comedy.
I thought he was a stand-up.
Yeah, and so I'm like, well, what better person? We've got a good chemistry.
Yeah.
We're friends. We know each other, so why not? And it's funny because through the years, you can hear the evolution of both of our lives. It's kind of like an audio diary or something.
Wow.
I love the story he told about daddy-daughter dance he went to. That was Western Bling. Was there a lot of rhinestones or sequins?
Man.
Like, what is? Yeah, what is it? A lot of sequins on a cowboy hat, dude? What is Western Bling, bro?
Right. So I mean, he's been getting bigger and bigger as a comedian.
Oh, that's great.
So it's good. We're both evolving as people, and
Yeah.
I think one day it'll be great to listen back to all this bullshit and see how we became the people we were. Like when we're 50 and done with podcasting or whatever.
What's the life? I heard, I think S. Anthony Thomas told us once, the life of an average podcaster is like 10 shows and then they give up.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely narcissism and psychosis, like to keep going.
Oh, for sure.
You
gotta
keep
have
going. Yes, you do. You have to have that. And it's like, yeah, I love what I say. Everyone should love what I say. Like, it is exactly what it is. I heard.
Have you guys ever gotten blowback from like people in your personal life from stuff you say?
Like, you shouldn't have said no. I don't think so.
Nobody in my personal life listens, and I've lost friends because I've told them I had a podcast, and they were like, "That's retarded," and then they just won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah, no. A lot of my friends love my shit. Like a lot of my friends at work will like the next day I'll go to work and they'll be like, "I love that interview" or "I love that segment." Like, yeah, a lot of my friends love the show. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
have you ever had that, Randy, where someone's like, "You're a scumbag"?
A couple times, you know, because I tend to talk about my dating life on the show, and that doesn't go over well sometimes. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah. Then no. Most people just like, I loved the show. And how many? What do you do for fun, Randy? Like, what do you do in your spare time?
I'm a big movie fan. I love the movies. I'm excited about seeing Us. I haven't seen it yet.
Slim said earlier, like he was a little confused.
Yeah, like I don't know, like it's weird because it was one of those movies when I finished watching it, I was like, I don't know if I like it or don't like it, and like when it comes down to it, I love the acting, I love the action sequences, the suspense, it's all great. There's just like some plot holes in it that are just really like, it just kind of fucks with you. It's just kind of like, it makes it feel like you just watched nonsense. So it's hard.
Did you like Get Out better?
I loved Get Out. Yeah, I thought Get Out.
Right.
Get Out was more cut and dry, and it was weird, but it still kind of like made sense. So you'll understand when you go see Us. Like I still recommend seeing it, but it's just kind of off the wall, and it kind of seems like he didn't really think it out. It seems like it was more symbolism than it was anything concrete.
Gotcha.
What else? What other recent movies have you really loved, Randy?
I don't know that I've watched a lot of recent movies. Have you seen the trailer for this movie called Yesterday?
No.
You know, I was scrolling through Facebook and I didn't watch it, but I saw the words of this guy where he knows what the Beatles is, but everybody else doesn't. Like yesterday, everybody knew, and now nobody knows the Beatles anymore. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like he gets hit by a car and he wakes up from like a coma or something into a world where the Beatles never exist. So he's a struggling musician and he's hanging out with their friends and they're like, play me a song. And he starts playing Yesterday, I think it is. And they're like, oh my God, that's beautiful. Did you write that? And the dude's like, well, that's the Beatles. Come on. And they're like, who? So
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, so he starts playing Beatles songs to advance his career because nobody knows who the Beatles are. It looks interesting. I mean,
it's
an original idea.
There was an American Dad, I think, where the alien, what's that,
Roger.
Yeah, he went back in time and he like went back in time with a cassette of disco songs and he released them before all the bands released them. I love that.
I fucking love Roger.
Yes, he's my favorite. Roger's the best. Oh, that does sound like a cool movie, though.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Is it indie or is it mainstream?
I think it's gonna be. I think it's indie, but I don't know. We'll see.
So, how long did you say you've been doing the show, Randy? You have over 200 episodes, right?
Yeah, I think we're recording 224 or 5 tonight. We've been doing it 7 years.
Cool. Yeah, we're coming up on 200. I think almost the end of next month.
Yep.
Almost the end of
Congrats!
next
That's a
month.
big accomplishment, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like shit, but like it takes a lot longer than you would think too. Like.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it 7 years, but there was
Yeah.
a couple lean years in there because life got in the way. So
Yeah.
we probably should be further ahead, but it is
yeah,
what it is.
it is. Yeah, exactly. Do you guys do it live?
That's funny. Our show basically is recorded live. Like, I don't edit anything. What you hear is what we do. I tried to go live once, and it was a huge travesty. And David, our mutual friend, David, the producer, still gives me shit about it every now and then.
Is he the best? Is he not the best person in the world?
David, the producer, is one of my favorite people. Actually, one of my
Yes.
favorite episodes of the show was episode 200. We had Juliet Miranda and David, the producer.
I
on,
listened
it
and
was
I
great.
loved it. I did. I love that. I love them. Juliet's great too. Like I met them once too. They're awesome people. Awesome people.
Well, that's fantastic. And how about that baritone on David, huh?
Oh,
That's like
right. And he
vocal
always knocks
track.
himself. Everyone, because I think he just recently had a guest that wanted to talk on the phone before, and the guy said he should be on radio. And David always knocks himself. Like it's like, dude, you should be doing
I
something.
think that's the first time the first time we talked to him. We said that we were
Yeah.
like, "Wow, you have a beautiful voice."
Yeah. He's easy
I
on the
think I
ears.
said that too. Yeah.
What went wrong? What went wrong with the first time you went live?
Well, I went into it half-assed, not knowing what I was doing, so there was a lot of buffering and stuff. Like
Oh.
we had a huge turnout too, and I was super excited, and the show was going really well. But then people started booing and hissing because it was buffering, and I didn't have the
lagging or
right
whatever.
settings. And
Slim
ever
built-
since then, I've been kind of gun shy, but I want to do it.
Slim built a computer just to go live with, because
Pretty
like
much.
we would. I don't know if we had troubles like that, but yeah, he built like a monster of a computer just so we wouldn't have any sort of a lag or anything.
And I don't know if you experience this just not going live, but going live and recording and everything. Every now and then, you still find hiccups. Like you think everything is fine, and then something goes wrong. So it's
Yes.
kind of like you just gotta like whatever, just keep doing it. And honestly, like our first live show compared to our live show now, it's completely different. And you get better, and yeah, you're gonna find some glitches and some errors. And even when you think you're fucking perfect, maybe a year later you haven't had any problems, and bam, there's an issue.
Something new.
And that's
happens.
just
Yeah.
that's just part of it.
Oh, and I was cocky too. I was going to take live calls on the show, so I'm like, okay, people call in, and then all of a sudden we got like 6 calls at once, and I just
Oh.
there was no way to filter them out. So
I thought you were gonna say nobody call, because there's been times I've done that where it's like, yeah, everyone call, and yeah, nobody calls, and you're like,
yeah.
well, I didn't mean to sound like I was bragging, but
Well, you were a little ready.
You
But
were. You were
but
rubbing it in.
Then we'll get the calls where it's like, we don't. Well, you're saying
Yeah.
nothing. Like, why did you even call? Like, we were talking about a subject, and they're like, hey, I just wanted to say hi, and it's like, well, that's not what we're about. Like,
We've wanted calls, and then like we finally start getting calls, and then Rob just screams at whoever calls.
yeah, I'm a bit of a loose cannon, Randy.
oh man, Rob's known to go AWOL every now and then.
Yeah, go over. Oh God! Do you guys? You did mention having a David and Juliet, Randy. Do you guys have regular guests, or was that like just a special event?
Every now and then, our recording schedule is pretty stupid because Tommy has a family
Oh, it's,
and
like,
I work
different.
2 jobs, and he's
Yeah.
on the road, so we record. It makes it hard to have guests. I'd like to do it more, but every so often we do. Like tonight, we're recording at 11 p.m. Ain't nobody calling in to a stupid podcast at 11 p.m. So
Yeah, it's a late start. Plus, yeah, like you said, yeah, just getting on the same schedule. Because I had probably like 4 people before I did the show with Slim. Like, oh, you want to do a show? You want to do a podcast or something? I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to. And then they can never like plan a day to get together. Like, it's like, oh, that's not a good day or whatever. But yeah, so like,
Right.
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's hard to
that's
make
the
shit
worst
work.
part of it is scheduling stuff.
Yes, totally. What do you know too, Randy? Like what you have coming up on the show? Do you plan it before time, or is it just like you roll with it?
We pretty much roll with it. I have less than 0 clue what I'm doing tonight. So
Wow.
I like to always tell myself I'm going to plan ahead because the show would be better that way, and it just never happens.
I would be so
So
scared, like, to start and just have nothing. Like, we're good at having conversations, but I don't know. I'm just so anal. Well, like,
Yeah.
if I don't have to stuff to talk about, I'd be freaking out. Sometimes I do have shit planned and I'm freaking out.
Yeah, well, there's definitely right before we hit record that feeling of like, holy shit, is this going to be anything? Are we wasting our time? But I don't know. We've been doing it for long enough. Usually we can pull through.
Yeah. And like I've said, I don't know about recently, but I remember just some days waking up on a Wednesday, it's like, I'm not going to be able to be funny or something. You just don't feel it.
Yeah.
And then you go on and you just kill it. You just do. Like, it's
right,
cool.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like I get that a lot, where you're just like feeling like like that same feeling, and then as soon as you hit the mics, as soon as you hit record, it's like, bam.
Yeah.
Like just a different fucking world, and everything just works, and it's perfect, and it's amazing.
Yep. I've definitely had that before. It puts me in a better mood sometimes. Very therapeutic.
I was just going to say, It is therapy. It really is.
I've been in just like life-threatening depressions, and then like hit the mics and fine.
Also, too, like, nobody normal is going to be interesting to listen to. Like, yeah, you got to be a little off. You gotta be, yeah. Randy, as a miserable retail slave, what is one of your biggest pet peeves that customers do?
I hate when I'm stocking shelves and people either reach around me or reach above me. Or run into me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, when they're like, excuse me, and you're already, like, pressed against the shelf. Like, you can't move anymore. And you're like,
I would be happy to get an excuse me, but the place where I work, nobody says excuse me at all, ever. I would like an excuse me, and I would gladly move, but they just kind of, and I'm hard to miss. I'm 6'3", 220 pounds.
Wow.
I'm right there. How are you running into me?
Have you ever heard the late, great Patrice O'Neill talk about the black supermarket compared to the white supermarket? How he would say he would never go to the black supermarket because white people were just so pleasant to be around. Where the black mom would have the cart sideways and be looking at you like, I dare you to try to walk through here. Like, but yeah, I remember him all the time talking about that. He went out of his way to go to the white supermarket.
It's amazing. So Randy, my biggest issue is where I work, it's mostly old people. So I'll get the fucking dudes where they're just sitting in a motor cart.
Oh, the electric cart.
Yeah, they're sitting in the fucking electric cart, and they're sitting on their fucking phone trying to sweet talk whoever the fuck they're talking to in front of exactly where I need to go. I'm just sitting there like, fucking move.
I hate the ones that go back constantly because that thing beeps.
Yeah,
that thing constantly beeps when it's backing up, and that asshole's going back and forth between two items trying to decide. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Oh, God. Those electric carts.
At my store, there's a couple that comes in, and they ride side by side like they're a real badass Mad Max Fury Road.
I have that too, yes.
And they just take up all the room, and they dare you. They just dare you.
It's the worst.
We have one too, and this one's on her own special, but it flies, it goes fast, and she doesn't slow down. Like, it's you got to jump out of the way. This lady is gonna run you down, bro. I've seen her fly out of the door and just like zip across the parking lot, not even stopping like to see if cars are coming through. Like, this lady's a problem.
She's got a super motor.
She don't give dude. She got her own special jazzy scooter. God damn, Randy, we had to wrap this up, dude. But it's been great talking to you, man.
I've had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at mretailslave. Search the hashtag if you're a pretty picture person on the Instagram there. And also, I'm going to be on live stream for The Cure 3, May 17th at 7 p.m.
Cool. What day is that again? Is that a Saturday, Randy? Like,
it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nick and Justin from Epic Film Guys put it on to raise money for cancer research.
I've always wanted to do it, but it's never on a Wednesday, and like me and Slim are usually working like the rest of the week. But yeah, they do a live stream, and it's to raise money for cancer research. It's a great cause.
Yeah, we did it last year and had a blast, so looking forward to it this year.
Awesome, dude.
And remember, Randy, people can also find you by going to Podbean and typing in retail, which is still amazing. I think that's the most amazing thing in the world.
That's
so.
a great thing.
It is a beautiful thing. I love it.
It's all these like podcasts about like retail management, and then you guys.
There's CEOs and shit, and then there's Randy. That's the one I want. I want the Randy one.
I got the real tips for the people.
Damn right. Damn right, brother. Thank you so much, Randy.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.